Shout out to the Nerdy Gang. If you guys want to get featured in the next video, all you guys have to do is like this video, subscribe, post notifications on, and leave a nice comment with your gamer tag. Today we're going over the top 5 best AR loadouts in Warzone right now. We're going to start out with the Nikita, and we're going to throw on the MX silencer for the sound suppression, horizontal recoil control, vertical recoil control, and damage range. And don't worry guys, at the end of this I'm going to show you guys the full setup. I just want to let you guys know why I'm using this. So you get a decrease of aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. Now some people would think that the recoil booster would actually be a good idea, but the thing is, with the recoil booster for the Nikita, it actually doesn't increase fire rate. It only increases the hip fire accuracy, so it's not a good idea. Some people would choose the Mercury silencer, but it only gives sound suppression, horizontal recoil control, and bullet velocity. It doesn't give the vertical and horizontal recoil control, which is something that you're going to absolutely need, so make sure you have that on there. I throw in the Empress 613 BFA for the recoil control, damage range, and bullet velocity. You get a decrease of aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and aim walking movement speed, but this is going to be a mid to long range AR in the first place, so you're not going to have to worry about that at all. Throw on the SVT 40PU scope. You got to remember that you're going to have a glint on it. If you don't want that, you can throw on the G16 2.5. You're going to get 2.5 magnification instead of the 3 and 6 times, but it's still going to work pretty well, just not as far. I think that the SVT is better, and I think the glint is worth it, but it's completely up to you, whatever you decide to use. Throw on the Zac MS for the horizontal recoil control and aiming stability. You get a decrease of aim down sight speed and movement speed and hip fire accuracy along with sprint to fire speed. Not a big deal. Trust me, this is the one you want to have for the best amount of recoil control. Throw on Brace for the initial firing recoil. Trust me, you're going to want to have that. If you don't, then use sleight of hand if you honestly think you can handle the initial firing recoil. Throw on hand for the aim down sight speed. That's really the main reason I use it. The equipment dexterity really isn't that important, but if you don't want to use that, you can use fully loaded for max starting ammo. Throw in the hatch grip for the recoil control and flinch resistance. If you don't want to use that, you can use polymer grip for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. Completely up to you, whichever one you want to use. I think those are the 2 best options. Throw on the 50 rounds for the magazine ammo capacity. Some people throw on 60 round soccer because they think that it's really going to help. They think it's going to increase fire rate. It's not. It just increases the recoil control and hip fire accuracy. The downside is you get decreased damage range, bullet velocity, and reload quickness, which is not worth it. You want as much damage range and bullet velocity as possible, and because this is already going to be a no recoil build, the 50 round mags is the best option for you, so make sure you throw that on there. Make sure you're also throwing on lengthen for the increased bullet velocity and bipod for the recoil control, mounted, crouched, or prone. Trust me, this thing has 0 recoil. Make sure you guys are using this one. This has amazing recoil control, amazing TTK, and it's one of the best ARs to start out with. Moving on to the Grau, this thing is absolutely incredible. We're going to throw on the monolithic suppressor for the sound suppression, damage range, decrease of aim down sight speed, and aim walking steadiness. But I just need to let you guys know the Grau is currently the best AR in Warzone right now, so make sure you're using this exact setup. Throw on the damage range Tempest 26.4 Archangel. You'll get increased damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. You get a decrease of aim down sight speed and movement speed, but that's not even important. Some people try to throw on the FSS 20.8 Nexus to compensate for the reduction of aim down sight speed and movement speed. Trust me, you want to keep this on there because this is the best bullet velocity and damage range and recoil control. Throw on the VLK 3 times just because this is personal preference. If you don't want to sight, then completely up to you. You can just throw on the F-Tech R89 rubber, but I honestly think that you should use the VLK 3 times just for the best sight. Also, if you throw on the VLK, make sure you put on the T-pose reticle just for even less recoil than it already has. But moving on from that, we're going to put on the 60 round just for as many bullets as possible. If you want less aim down sight speed and movement speed penalties, then throw on the 50, but it's completely up to you. I throw on the 60 just for as many bullets as possible. And Ranger foregrip for recoil control and aiming stability. Now, if you don't want to use that, completely up to you. You can use the Commando foregrip for recoil stabilization and aiming stability, but it's completely up to you. I mean, either or are really good. I mean, some people have suggested the Commando. I think that's just what they're used to. I think that the Ranger foregrip is the best option though. Next, we're going to move on to the NZ41. This thing is absolutely incredible, and you guys have to start out with the MX silencer for the sound suppression, horizontal recoil control, vertical recoil control, and increased damage range. You get a reduction of aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed, but there's really no better option. Like, everything else is good, but this has everything with the least amount of penalties. Throw on the Orb Weaver 360 MMBC for the highly accurate and controllable, reduce scope swing and gun bob, and bullet velocity. You get a decrease of sprint to fire speed and hip fire accuracy. Now, I remember the lower Mark 1 burst was the best one when this particular one wasn't nerfed because it was fully auto, highly accurate, controllable, and damage range. But because it got nerfed, this actually is the best option now for the increased bullet velocity. So if you want to try it out, feel free, but I'm telling you, the Orb Weaver 360 MMBC is the best option. Throw on the SVT 40PU scope. If you do not have it, then you can use the G16. It'll give you the 2.5 magnification, accuracy, compact scope, and recoil control. But I really do think that the SVT 40PU scope is the best option just because you get more magnification, but it's whatever you want to use. Throw on the Orb Weaver E-Pack for the recoil control, recoil recovery, accuracy, and flinch resistance. I don't really see another option that would be better. I mean, maybe the Lure Reinforced, but I don't really think that's the best option. I think the E-Pack really is the best choice. Throw on Brace for the initial fire and recoil. Throw on Hand for aim, down, sight speed. Throw on Hatch Grip for recoil control and flinch resistance. If you don't want to use that, you can use Polymer, but I think the Hatch Grip really is the best choice. You get Polymer accuracy and recoil during sustained fire and flinch resistance, but this is recoil control and flinch resistance. So whichever one you want to choose. This one, you want to use the 6.5mm Sakura 50 round mags because you get an increase of recoil control and accuracy, which is very important. Fire rate, which is very important. Movement speed, and magazine ammo capacity. You get a reduction of bullet velocity and range and bullet penetration, but this is already one of the strongest weapons with some of the highest bullet velocity to begin with. So the fact that you throw on Sakura rounds and it makes it a little bit less bullet velocity and range, this is already going to be a powerhouse with increased fire rate. Throw on Lengthen for the bullet velocity, and throw on M1941 hand stop for the recoil control. If you don't want to use that, you can use a Carver foregrip for the vertical recoil control and hip fire accuracy, and might even laser it even more. Next, we're going to use the Automaton, and this weapon is absolutely incredible. Make sure you're using the MX silencer for the sound suppression, horizontal recoil control, vertical recoil control, and damage range. You get a reduction of aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. Then use the Anastasia sniper for the bullet velocity and range. You also get an increase of accuracy, a reduction of hip fire accuracy and aim down sight speed. Throw on the SVT 40PU. As usual, if you don't have it, you can throw on the G16 and they'll be completely fine. You get the same perks as the NZ, where you get 2.5 magnification, accuracy, compact scope, and recoil control. Throw on the Anastasia padded for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire and increased flinch resistance. You get a decrease of initial fire and recoil and aiming stability. Throw on tight grip for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. If you don't think that they stack or anything like that, you can throw on sleight of hand and it'll help you, or you can use steady for ADS fire and move speed, but I think that sleight of hand might be the best option if you want increased damage range, and throw on spotter, but I don't think that's necessary. Throw on hand for aim down sight speed. Hatched grip for recoil control and flinch resistance. If you want to use polymer grip, then you can use that for flinch resistance and accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. Throw on 6.5 Sakura 75 round drum for the magazine ammo capacity. You get a decrease of aim down sight speed, reload quickness, and movement speed, but this is the best option. Everything else has a con that's not helpful. You get decrease of fire rate with this strength mag, and then you get a fire rate increase, but bullet velocity, range, bullet penetration, and damage decrease with these smaller rounds. So 75 is the best option. Make sure you throw on Lengthen for the increased bullet velocity, and Carver foregrip for the vertical recoil control and hip fire accuracy with a reduction of aim down sight speed. And last but not least, we're going to use the AS44 because this AR is absolutely incredible and I don't think many people use it. So we're going to start out with the MX silencer for the sound suppression, horizontal recoil control, vertical recoil control, and increased damage range. Now you get a reduction of aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed, but trust me, this is the overall best option. Moving on, we're going to use the Kovalevskaya 615mm for the highly accurate and controllable, reduced scope sway and gun bob, and increased damage range. Now I don't really see a better alternative. Now there is actually one at level 50 that increases the fire rate. If you want to use that, then completely up to you, but I believe this is the best option for the damage range and accurate and controllable. You get a reduction of sprint to fire speed, hip fire accuracy, aim walking, movement speed, and aim down sight speed. Not a big deal. Put on the G16. Now you don't have to use the G16 if you don't want to. You can use the SVT 40PU scope and it can be just as good. I mean, for this, I thought because it's a medium to long range AR, I thought the G16 would be a great option because I think you're going to be in more medium gunfights than long range gunfights, but it'll be just as effective with the SVT 40PU scope. Throw on the ZAC 12A for horizontal recoil control and aim down sight speed because that's the recoil pattern. The hip fire accuracy and movement speed reduction is no big deal. Trust me, you're not even going to notice it. And the horizontal recoil control is going to be very, very helpful. Now, Gung Ho, you're not supposed to use Gung Ho. I just didn't change it. You can use sleight of hand, and that'll be a great option for you to throw on there. Make sure you have on hand for the aim down sight speed increase. You can use polymer grip for the flinch resistance and accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. I don't really see a better alternative. Maybe hatched grip for the recoil control and flinch resistance, but aside from that, these are really the two only options. Throw on the 7.62 Gorenko 50 round mags for recoil control and accuracy, increased fire rate, increased movement speed, and magazine ammo capacity. You get a reduction of bullet velocity and range and bullet penetration, but that's not a big deal. Trust me, I don't really think these are the better options. I mean, if you want to try out the Russian Sword 60 round mags, completely up to you, but you're not going to get that fire rate increase nor recoil control and accuracy increase. Now for this, you can use really anything you want to, but I think Lengthen is the best option for ammunition. And then last but not least, Carver foregrip for the vertical recoil control and hip fire accuracy with slight reduction of aim down sight speed. If you don't want to use that, then you can use the bipod, and it's going to be absolutely incredible. Recoil control when mounted, crouched, or prone. Bipod is a literally broken attachment, so please use it before it gets nerfed.